I'd like to go back to some of those archetypes and specifically talking about the crone. And you've mentioned the crone and the wise woman and the hag as well.
Mm,
Because typically in in our modern Western world, which is hailed as being so developed and wonderful, um, um, say that with a little bit of humor as well, that those terms aren't always looked on as something to aspire to.
yeah.
How do you view it? How do you why do you use those terms? How can the hag help us? How does that all work?
Okay. So yeah, for me, crone or hag, and again, these are words that seem very ugly.
Mm,
But again, I feel that's society that's told us that. So even as small girls, we will have read fairy tales where there's the wicked witch, or there's the witch in the forest, or the witch. Sleeping Beauty is a great story. The who pricks her finger, and it's the witch. It's
mm,
the witch, or it's really, if we delve deeper into that and not what we have been told, it is the wise woman. It's the woman who is in her own power. This is what crone energy is, or hag. The woman who, as I keep going back, doesn't need the external. She's done the internal work. She's worked with her own magic. She's realized her own magic. She's realized her own power, and she is within that power. So everything she needs is within. So that's the crone. It's the old wise woman, and in communities, in societies, years, hundreds of years gone by, we had that wise woman, and it was the woman who knew. It was the healing woman.
mm,
Um, you know, we uh, yeah, well, we only have to go back to the witch trials, don't we? And
yeah.
really, those a lot of the women were kind of healers. They were the women that knew. They were the women that communities would go to for support and for love and for not answers but guidance. But
Mhm.
it wasn't a scientific knowing.
Yeah.
So the crone energy is very much that. It's the woman who has the true connection to herself, has the wisdom, has connection to her own wisdom,
Mm,
um, and yeah, kind of can live a life that is so authentic to herself and her own wisdom that
mm,
it's not about the external. It's not about the pleasing others or worrying about what others think of her. It's about being in her own power and really being anchored in that is the crone or hag. I mean,
yeah.
a lot of what I has resonated with me is I have done some work with I don't know if you've come across Sharon Blackie.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
I'm a big fangirl. Yes.
and her latest book Haggitude, which I absolutely love, and
Mm,
it is an essence of being in hag. But
mm,
for me, menopause is that transition to that crone, to that hag, to that wise woman.
mm.
But we yeah, we need to learn to develop that connection to self, because when we connect to self, we connect to our own wisdom, and then that's the transition to crone.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's coming back again, isn't it, to that trust in ourselves. Because I can hear women behind me, clients, people who have helped thinking, yeah, I've got a lot of wisdom, but I'm not sure I'm not the wise woman. But it's trusting that we know our own truth and we
Absolutely.
know what we need as well as what we want, and being able to give ourselves that. We've got to anchor ourselves, like you say, we've got to live in our own authenticity around that to make that happen.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm,
Which can feel very alien for a
mm,
lot of women, but to us all, because we often live a life that's been ascribed to us externally of what we should be doing, this is how we should be living, age or whatever, and it doesn't always align to who we really are inside. So
Yeah.
that's what I say about the autumn, is sometimes it's the letting go, and that letting go can be the letting go of self-limiting beliefs, can be letting go of old stories that we tell about ourselves, old stories that we speak of ourselves. It's a letting go of a lot of things, not necessarily kind of the metaphysical things in our life.
And yes, and I'm thinking as well, it reminds me of boundaries, letting go of old boundaries that perhaps weren't defined very well, or we weren't making use of them particularly well, and revising that as well to make it more effective for ourselves and the people around us, the people we love and care about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel there's often a lot of reticence or about kind of coming into self, because and letting go of things, and like I say, that's not necessarily physical things in our lives, whether that's relationships, jobs, whatever, friendships. But when we are in our truth and when we grow into that connection, it will have a ripple effect. It will, because change does. Change, and I know there's a lot written around menopause. Sorry, I keep trying to bring it back to menopause because
it's all about menopause, because it's all about that connection to ourselves is menopause.
But
So
menopause, there's a lot written about kind of we need support for men while women go through menopause. Yes, because any change with anybody will have that ripple effect. So people around us will feel that. And a woman coming into her own self and her own truth will have a ripple effect. But I truly believe it's a positive one, because everything then in that woman's life is true to her. When she's been in her own connection and to self and to her own truth, then she's living a life that is aligned to that truth. So that can only have a positive effect for people around.
Yeah. And it can take some time, can't it? I find it can take some time to find that ease within that. The instigating those changes within ourselves can have some friction with other people around us.
Absolutely. And that's, what I call it, an awakening. And it's, and it is an awakening when that connection to self is an awakening, because we then so conscious, it's raising our own consciousness, and it's raising our consciousness that everything we do then is our conscious choice. So the choices we make are coming from a place of consciousness, because we're connected to our soul, to our conscious. So when I've lost my thread now, what I was going to say. So yes, I've lost my thread. What was I going to say about conscious choice then? So yes, sorry. So when we say that things will change, they will, that there is that causal effect, that things will, that conflict will. But things like, say, a job or a relationship doesn't mean that has to go in the letting go. As I previously said, it could be how we've shown up in that relationship. And that it can have a really positive effect for both people involved in that relationship, because it's an opportunity for them to grow through that change, both as separate beings, but also together. So that relationship can grow, and can then grow from also a place of truth.
Yes.
So, that's what I'm trying to say about the ripple effect of change, but how it can be really turned into a positive. But I think this is, as we were saying earlier, and I'm sure, you must come across this, it's that thing around menopause, that it's this thing that, like you say, happens to us, so we don't even own it, but it's a thing of fear, and it's a thing that we suffer from, and it's, the language is so powerful, that therefore, if we're we're, you know, kind of ingesting all this, that, you know, it's something so fearful, it's something we struggle with, we have to cope with it, we have to come through it, rather than seeing it as something that is part of us and ingrained, intrinsic within us, then I totally understand where then when we're saying, oh yeah, but we need to connect to self, it's like, but this is too frightening. This is because you don't know what else is going to come up in this growth. And
Yeah.
already we're fearing this big thing that's happening to us.
Mhm.
But actually, it's really turning that round and going, there's no fear. Because when we're coming from within, and when we're coming from more of a heart space with love and love to ourselves,
Mhm.
then the fear and the ego and the mind, which creates that fear, as well as the external noise and chatter around menopause. But when we're coming inside and we connect to self and we connect to love and we connect to our heart space, then that fear just dissipates. It goes, because we learn to love ourselves and we learn to love this experience in our lives, this transition.
Mhm.
For me, it really is about honoring and embracing this transition.
Yeah.
Am I repeating myself now? I feel like I'm going around in circles.
No,
Sorry.
it's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. And I'm thinking as well, we've mentioned a couple of things that come to mind really. I'll come to the other one in a second, but we've mentioned one book, well, a couple of books, many books that she's written.
Yes.
Sharon Blackie being very prolific in her writing and her sort of broadcasting of her knowledge. So we've got Sharon Blackie with Haggitude is
Yeah.
fantastic book. Are there other books along a similar theme if people want to?
Yeah, let me I have brought, so this is the Sharon Blackie Haggitude, for anybody that hasn't come across it. She also has a really good podcast. So yeah, and her latest around on the podcast is all around Haggitude. So she's had some really, really great guest speakers. One of her speakers is Alexandra Pope. So that's another one, Wise Power.
Wise Power, great, yeah.
Really, really good. And Alexandra Pope set up the Red School. So that's all around menstruality, not just specifically menopause, but the whole, you know, and how for females to really connect to their menstruality. This is one of my go-tos for menopause, new menopausal years. And again, that gives, I won't say an alternative, but it's a different way of experiencing the menopause.
Yeah, because at the moment it feels, certainly from media angles and medical angles, we're kind of getting a lot, like you say, there's a lot of talk and discussion publicly, but we're not getting so much of this alternative, which is actually rooted in history as being original.
Yes, exactly.
But
exactly.
I think we need to
I don't like the term alternative, but it is the alternative to what the current discourse is, which is, you know, a very male, medical, pathologizing, you know, and capitalist. It's about keeping women functioning. So yes, it's the it's the other approach. And this one is a really good one, Unwell Women. So that's not just about menopause, it's about illnesses within women, but again, that really supports the ideology of how we are pathologized, how we are medicalized as women. And you know, and by being pathologized, it gives someone else the power.
Yes.
Whether that's a system, whether that's, rather than coming into our own power. Because when women do come into their own power, we are extremely powerful. When women come together, we are extremely powerful as a collective, you know. But that can disrupt the current status quo of things.
So I guess what we're saying here is, you know, take what interests you, follow that rabbit hole if you want to, buy the book,
Absolutely.
read whichever book, or as well as contact yourself, and I'll come on to that in a second, and take what you need. Take what you need. If you need a partly medical approach and grounding yourself in your own truth and power and authenticity, have a bit of both. That's exactly what I do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Make your own blend. And this is where it is about going back to being creative,
Yeah.
create your own blend of what works for you.
Mm.
And yes, because it is that there is so much out there, and it's not that one is right and one is wrong. There's no duality,
Mm.
but it's about offering something different to this current conversation narrative of what menopause is for women.
Yeah.
And for every woman, their menopause is unique to them.
Yes.
So that's why creating your own blend of what works for you, but to do that is that pause and that, kind of listening to yourself. So it may be, some women may watch this and just go, I don't get this, it's not for me. And that's great. There may be women that are like, oh yeah. And there may be women that's just that little stirring of like, oh. And it's so, yes, like you say, kind of going down that rabbit hole. And for me, it's like following the breadcrumbs. It's like, just go with trust yourself to go where you feel you need to on your journey, on your experience of menopause.
Mm. Yeah.
Not what's being externally dictated.
Yeah, it does feel like a dictatorship at times, and a lot of my clients, one of their concerns is that they want to feel informed. They want to feel informed so that they can make the right choices and do the right things for their health now and in the future. And you know what? I think what you're talking about and presenting is part of that. We need to be fully informed, and fully informed for me personally, people might not agree with this, but for me it's about the bigger picture, mind, body, spirit, soul, whatever you want to talk about it, everything. So that the fully informed is not just one angle from a medical approach, although yeah, that can be definitely needed and necessary.
Absolutely.
Fully informed is knowing what's in here as well. So yeah, so
Absolutely.
thank you for
Yeah.
coming on. And
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. As I say, I think for women to be able to talk about this in a safe environment, in a safe space, held by women, I really feel this is really, really important, that we can have the different conversations. And we can, yeah, we give ourselves permission to talk about it differently.
yeah, yeah. So where do we find you if we want to carry on this conversation? Where can
Okay. So I am on Facebook. That's the only social media platform I'm using currently. So it's Awakened Woman Coaching, or you can find me on Lorraine Edmonston as well, on my personal page as well. And I do have a closed Facebook group, which is free, and that is Wise Woman Circle.
Okay.
Or you can email me at lorraine@awakenedwoman.coach.
Okay, great. Brilliant.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. This feeds my soul.
Yes, me too.
It's like, it's so good to talk about this. Thank you.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, and we could go on forever. I'm a huge fan, and yeah, for me, I'm in perimenopause phase, just at the beginning. I'm 44 this year, and yeah, I'm well aware of the science that I've picked up on and learned and studied over the years, and really aware of what's coming from my soul now, what's coming from my heart. So yeah, I'm really pleased that we're including this conversation. Thank you.
So how long have you been doing what you've been doing then? I don't know much about you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I've been menopause coach since I think 2016 was when I first really stepped into that role properly. So yeah, it's been a while. I've seen a lot of changes. I've seen a lot of transition. Talking about the menopause transition, there's been a lot of change within that arena itself. So yeah, it's something that has become for me a realization that it's my sole purpose, and it's a part of a bigger plan that it sometimes feels like I'm riding a train that I'm part of, and yeah, I have to go with that. If there's a lot to it, but yeah,
Brilliant.
it's brilliant. I love what I do, and it's evolving all the time. And yeah, seeing how it helps women to have these conversations, to invite the conversations,
Absolutely.
is powerful. Yeah.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Where are you based, Angie? Are you local to Kelly or?
No, I'm in Scotland. I'm in just near Edinburgh in East
Oh,
Lothian. So
okay.
yeah, on the east side of things, on the east coast,
Right. Okay. Lovely.
pretty much on the beach. Yes,
Right.
it's
Brilliant.
great. Yeah, yeah.
Brilliant.
I don't come. I'm not Scottish. My family are nearer Kelly's side of things. They're in Cheshire and Staffordshire.
Right.
They're still down there, but I made the move.
Right.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Lovely. Oh, good. Well, so lovely to connect with you through
Yeah.
Kelly's. Yeah, really
Too.
lovely. It's been so enjoyable. Thank you. Thank you. Right.